1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We're in episode 55, which is a particularly wonderful episode for me because 5 is my favorite number, and now we got 2 of them in the title. We've got a bit of an interesting one prepared for this. Topics, again, got some, starting off with a nerdy one, but we maybe have some life stuff coming up after that. Segment 2, we didn't do movie night, but I've personally been doing a lot of watching of kind of not older really, but TV shows from the mid-2000s, and I might want to talk about those. Blue's still been playing Final Fantasy. And then for segment 3, we've got a brand new thing that we've never tried and have kind of talked about a little bit, and I think that it might actually be kind of interesting. We've got a choose-your-own-adventure book that we're going to start trying to go through. So, we'll see how that goes. But that being said...
Very excited for that.
Segment 1, topics. I have been playing an inordinate amount of Morrowind over the last month.
You have? I haven't seen you like this whole week. I've been assuming it's been work, but no. Little do I know.
Well, it's been
on his couch.
It has been a very busy work week, but after that, like, when I finish work, I'm, like, tired. I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to watch an old TV show on my tablet and then sit down and play some Morrowind.
I want to go and sit on my couch and be a cat boy, is what you meant by that. Wait, are Khajiit even in?
Oh, yeah, they're in there.
Yeah, they're in there.
I've
okay.
never played a Khajiit, although there was, I had a friend in high school, a little side story there.
Yeah.
By the way, Morrowind has a bunch of different fantasy races. So
this is the yarn thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think you've said this on the podcast before,
probably
but
have.
Maybe not.
Yeah. There's elves of 3 different varieties. There's a couple different human varieties. The Imperials,
3?
The Red Guards, the Nords. Yeah.
Light elf, high elf.
Dark elf, high elf, and wood elf. And then
I always just think high elves and wood elves are the same because they're both
wood elves are the
pricks.
sneaky ones that are good with bows. High elves are magic.
Yeah. Okay.
Humans, you got Red Guards, Nords, and Imperials. And then you get the weirdo races, which is like...
Whoa.
The Khajiits.
The Argonians are the best race.
The Khajiits and the Argonians. The lizard people and the cat people.
The dragons,
No.
Actually, I suppose they're not technically dragons, because there are dragons in that world.
They're iguanas, or maybe, like, anoles.
I mean, they're closer to fish, because they can have unlimited breath underwater.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
don't tell anyone that.
Morrowind is a game in the Elder Scrolls series. They've got, the original ones were very low-tech, old PC games. Morrowind is where the series really started to pick up because they had... It came out for the original Xbox and the PC. It was all in 3D. A little bit janky, but I played the crap out of this thing when I was in high school. A few of my friends were into it too. And then they went on from there. They made Oblivion, they made Skyrim. Skyrim's probably the most well-known of the series at this point.
Oh yeah, Skyrim is definitely where it picks up for the masses. But I still don't think... I have only played 2 of the games, and I've only heard of 3 of the games. So, the only experience that I have with Morrowind is experiencing the land of it through Elder Scrolls Online, because that's where it's set, isn't it?
Yeah, Elder Scrolls Online, it's the one that is... It has the least depth, but it allows you to go to the most areas. So every other game has you go into a specific region. So Morrowind is actually the northeasternly most region of the I think it's called Tamriel, the whole continent. Yeah. And Oblivion is set in Cyrodiil, which is the capital, which is right in the middle.
That was my first game.
And then there's Skyrim, which takes place in Skyrim, which is in the northwest.
They really just threw ideas out of the boat.
When they got to Skyrim, they were like, let's just name it after where it's set. I mean, to be fair, they did that with Morrowind too. The middle one...
Oblivion's just the name of hell, which you go to a lot in Oblivion.
In Oblivion, yeah. But the rest of the game is set in Cyrodiil, which is the main location. But no, I've been, like... So the background to this, and it almost became a joke for a while. because I got my hands on an Xbox Series X, you know, the brand new shiny console, also known as the Microsoft fridge, because it's just this giant monolithic cube. It's a good console, it just looks weird. But what do I do on it? Like, I try it out with some next-gen games, play those for a little bit, and then I realize on my bookshelf, I've got my original Xbox copy of the Game of the Year edition of Morrowind, and I'm like, oh, I wonder how well this runs on it. Because in the original Xbox, the load times were atrocious, because it was
So it doesn't look any nicer than it did back in the day.
It does, actually.
Does it?
They upscaled the resolution.
Oh, hell yeah.
So I had to download a 15 gigabyte patch to play it.
Right. Is it like, what kind of, if we're talking like Oblivion, Skyrim, what kind of level of graphics?
No, it's nowhere near those two.
Oh, nowhere near Oblivion?
It still looks like an original Xbox game.
Right.
But it's at a higher resolution, and just it's less blurry, the edges are more crisp. I mean, the graphics are still of its era. Like, it's not... They didn't, like, fully remake it. Like, if you played it on the PC, you can download mods that, like, make things look nicer, give it much higher resolution, better textures, all that fun stuff. But this is the best you're going to get on playing it on a console, unless you modded the console.
But no matter how effective graphics get, I'm still going to turn off motion blur every single time.
Well, it's good news. It didn't exist in this game.
Nice. What's the other one? The light refraction one.
Is it lens flare or
that could be it. I think it's lens.
Chromatic.
It's just like sudden
aberration or something like that.
Sudden, blindingly bright rays of light hitting you in the face.
Boom, or bloom.
Bloom.
You're thinking of bloom.
They said boom.
I did say boom at first. I meant bloom.
Boom! It's bloom. Amazing.
Boom! Flashes of light. Those are explosions, not graphical settings. But no, like, it took me a little bit to get used to the lower tier graphics, because we are talking about a game that came out almost 20 years ago. But once I did, like, I found myself really getting sucked into the story again. There's a lot of reading in this game. There's some minimal voice acting. Like, people will talk to you in the street, and certain key events will be voice acted. But for the most part, it's conveyed by a text window. You click on a person, a big text box pops up, you have a list of topics you can talk to them about. You click on them, and then they talk to you, and you might get some dialogue options, but it's all silent. So that's something. It does take a little bit longer to get through, but the game itself, once you start getting into it, the lore and characters and stuff are a lot deeper than the other later Elder Scrolls games. Yeah. So like Oblivion was fully voice acted, and it did well with that. Honestly, it still had some of the depth of Morrowind, but it didn't what was it? Still had some of the depth of Morrowind, but it did lose a little bit because they had to pay voice actors to talk through every single dialogue line. And then Skyrim went even further with this, where the character development and the deeper lore is a lot more shallow in that game. But the gameplay is probably very... Well, it's the least clunky of all of them.
See, I'm a serial scene skipper. There are games where the lore has fascinated me, but most of the time I want to read that in a half-hour YouTube video instead of a 5-year-long epic of reading text in the game. One thing that I think would make me stop and actually read things is if games, and they do occasionally do this, but very rarely, if games gave, like, bonus loot things in the dialogue. They're like, oh, by the way, I buried a casket of treasure under this tree in Elmswood.
Morrowind does this.
Does it?
Yes. There's a character that because I played this game extensively. One of the things, my best friend in high school and I, like, it's not a multiplayer game. There are mods that came out later to allow you to do multiplayer. But what he would do is, like, some days on, like, a weekend or, like, on summer break or something like that, he would literally we had this old shitty TV that I would drag up to this other room, and we'd have two TVs. He'd pull his Xbox and bring it over to my house, and we'd just play Morrowind in the same room.
Yeah.
And just fuck around and like, oh, hey, look what I found. Hey, look what I found. And I used to like really not pay too much attention to the dialogue and the lore in that game because I just wanted to, dick around and play.
Yeah.
So this is one of the first times I've really kind of dug deep and actually started reading into things. And for the first time, I discovered a character. It's Khajiit in this small town you can't fast travel to. You have to actually walk. In Morrowind, there's not like fast travel based on waypoints. You have to actually go up and hire like transport to get between the towns if you don't want to walk.
Okay.
And there's some places you can't do that too. So I was in this place and I encountered this one person, and it's this weird like creepy cat lady who just like asks you to do some random favors, and if you do them, eventually you can go over and like, oh, share a secret or share a care or something like that. And it's usually fairly easy things she wants you to do, and once you do them, she'll go like, oh, by the way, this person in this obscure location in this city has a key hidden in his wife's bedroom drawer. And so if you go there, you can get that key, and that key unlocks a bank vault with a ton of like awesome loot in it.
Wow.
Now, granted, you still have to find a way to get around all the guards in that bank, but if you do, you now just have a key.
If you've got the key to the vault, then you can just be like, take me to my vault.
No, because it's a noble family's vault, so they know that you're not supposed to be going in there.
I don't remember this fish person being an elf.
But that's just one example. There's a lot of them in the game. Like, now that I'm actually reading the dialogue, I'm noticing a lot of other things where they're like, oh, it doesn't get like a quest marker. It doesn't get a journal entry. They're just like in the lore. They tell you these little tidbits, and they actually are something that's actually valuable if you actually follow up on them. So Morrowind has a ton of that. Oblivion had a little bit of that, but not much.
Yeah, I do remember reading, I think, most of what was said in Oblivion. Maybe it's because I was younger and I had less games that I could play at the time.
Yeah.
But when it comes to like, obviously, I've started Final Fantasy, and I was reading the text for basically up till the point where you and Delicia got accounts. So that was like a good week.
Yeah.
And so I was reading it all, and then there were like some characters introduced that I just didn't care about.
It was more vapid.
Yeah, and like even now, I am level 57, so I'm like 3 levels off the maximum amount for me. And the main quest is still giving me quests where it's like, go and talk to 8 different people in this city to recruit them. It's not like go off fight dragons, it's fetch quests and like those kind of things. So when I get to the end of those quests, they're just going to be talking about like, ooh, now our linen is prepared for the new recruits. And it's like, I don't give a shit. I don't know.
You were pretty enthusiastic about linen on the Way Out video.
Yeah, that's fresh in your mind, isn't it? I said the linen thing because there was literally a point where I had to pick up, like, army uniforms. And I'm like, I'm the hero of this universe. Yeah. Why am I picking up uniforms for people?
Well, that's the thing, like, do you get a little bit of that, even in older games? 'Cause I'm doing, like, some side quests in Morrowind right now, just trying out some of the other guilds that I didn't follow. But in, like, one of the guilds, like, I'm the supreme commander of, like, the guard legions in Morrowind. Yeah. And I'm also, like, the head of, the fighters guild and stuff like that. Yeah. And yet I'm doing fetch quests for the mages guild to bring this stupid cat lady flowers. It's like, there's a little bit of a juxtaposition. Like, there was a guy on the road who's a scripted, like, he's gonna rob you. And I'm like, are you threatening me right now? Do you see how glowy my armor is? Like, I'm walking around in this tank of, like, god armor, and... Yeah. So there is a bit of that. But...
And I think they're fine. Those quests, I'm happy to have them in the game. I think they give some... diversity in the types of objectives that you do, rather than just go outside the gate, kill the nearest 3 squirrels, and come back.
Yeah.
But I think they should be relegated to, like, level 15 and below. So not level 56.
There's something that I like. The Morrowind, more than any of the Elder Scrolls games that came after it, Morrowind has this amazing ability to like be perfectly fine with letting you break it.
Yes, I've heard about the shoes of jumping.
There's also the levitation spells. You can get these scrolls that increase your acrobatics to 1,000, so you can jump across the whole continent. But if you land, you will die because it only does it for 3 seconds.
Those are the shoes I was talking about.
It's not a shoe, it's a scroll.
Oh, okay.
You get 3 scrolls. Early on in the game, if you're walking down a path, you hear this guy screaming, he falls out of the sky and dies, and he has those scrolls
Jesse
on him.
told me about that.
And you can read his journal, and it talks about, I have finally proved my critics wrong, I shall test this tomorrow, or something like that. And, there's also a levitate scroll, so you can literally walk to the final boss the moment you get the ability to levitate.
Yeah.
And nothing's stopping you except for the fact that he is going to kill you.
Is it not like, I know a lot of Skyrim fast, what's the run? I can't speak. You know when you try and complete a game really quickly?
Speedrun.
Speedruns. A lot of Skyrim speedruns. They say, we're going to beat the DLC boss super fast. And they are like glitched their way into the guy's lair. But because he levels according to your level...
Yeah, that's not a thing in Morrowind.
They can kill him at like level 3.
Yeah. So in Oblivion and Skyrim, one of the things they did was they made the enemies in the world level proportionally to your level.
Which I think sucks.
It does. In Morrowind, if you walk the wrong way and end up like in an end game kind of area, you can go there. You'll die in 2 seconds, but you can go there.
I mean, it didn't suck the first time I did it, because I wasn't aware of it, and the first thing I did on my second playthrough, though, was go straight to the Colosseum.
Yeah.
Where everyone loves the Colosseum in Oblivion.
Oh, yeah. Dude, the arena? I fucking love that place.
The one.
Yeah.
And I just, like, level 1, wiped out all the enemies in there, got a bunch of XP and weapons and armor.
Yeah. Like,
yeah.
Oblivion, so the way they did it in Morrowind, nothing scales to your level, pretty much. So... And I kind of like that because...
It's more of an MMO.
It's more realistic. Like, if you're in, like, a weak, low-level area where there's a bunch of rats and crabs and stuff, you're going to be fighting rats and crabs even when you're level 30.
Yeah.
Oblivion, they semi-scaled it. So even if you go through the arena at level 1 or something like that, you're going to have a bit of a rough time by the time you get to the end of the arena because they don't scale them up as fast, but there is a bit of a scale-up to it.
I mean... I always go with bow and arrow when I'm playing Oblivion because that shit's broken.
Oh yeah, so do I.
And like, yeah, I think I one-tapped the final boss at like level 3 with the Colossus. And then I went onto the Oblivion portals, fighting the demons in their demonic armor.
Yeah.
And they would drop like, wooden sandals.
Well, that's the thing. Equivalent. It's because the loot is scaled to your level. Or is, well, so you...
I hated that.
So what Skyrim, I think, was the worst for this, and it got really annoying when you'd get to really, really high levels where you're walking down like a country road where there should be nothing, and you're getting accosted by like level 38 demon trolls. It's like, what the fuck are they doing here? Yeah, and they're only there because that's your level. I do not like that system.
No, and you'd think it'd be because people would be like killing really weak mobs and just dominating them, which is why they wouldn't like it. But no, I was disappointed because when I went through the game again, I was looking to challenge myself by going after the harder mobs earlier, and you can't really I just couldn't that. Because they were just weak as hell.
Yeah, and in Morrowind, like I've done that before. Just like you can set off in a direction and just if you go take a wrong turn, you're gonna fight something that's way above you. And the other thing, like with more, I should probably stop talking about specifics in this game because there is a point that I'm getting to with all of this, and that's that. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, I was going to give a point and then I burped. In Morrowind, there's something that's kind of been lost when you watch the progression from Morrowind to Oblivion to Skyrim. You get. And it's a pattern a lot of games have gone through. you get some things better. Like, the gameplay is smoother. It's more accessible. Like, anyone can pick it up and play it and have a good time. But with those older games, like, you got more satisfaction out of mastery. Like, in Morrowind, you can, like, work your way up, and through a clever combination of game mechanics, not glitches, you could make something that is truly, like, broken and overpowered. You can become, like, some kind of a, demigod, basically, just through, cleverness and how you use the game's mechanics. You can also get, like, pieces of equipment that you could literally never sell. Like, you could pick up a piece of armor that's, like, it's worth 320,000 gold, but no one in the game has that kind of money. In Oblivion, you really couldn't do that. And in Skyrim, it's even worse. Like, there's the money proportion of, like, how much a thing is worth. Like, in Skyrim, I don't think there's a single item you can pick up that you can't sell to someone for, like, a reasonable rate, because the value isn't that high. And I didn't like that, because in Morrowind, when I found some kind of exciting piece of equipment, some exciting piece of lore that's like, oh, this is this ancient 3,000-year-old thingy, it costs, like, 2 million gold. No one will ever buy it from you because of how expensive it is. But then you go into Skyrim, it's like, oh, you found this legendary dragon artifact. It's worth 3,000 bucks.
Well, that's the thing that, the two things regarding that. First of all, when I realized in Oblivion how much demonic armor sells for, I was in and out of those hell portals like there was a fucking sale on.
Oh, yeah.
It was brilliant, honestly. And I would go in there. I'd barely be going in there for the orb, even. I was just going in there to loot their armor. It felt kind of bad by the end.
Well, sorry, go on. Did you have more to that?
And, oh god, there was something else that you were talking about.
Wait, so the general point that I was trying to make, maybe this will jog your memory, is that as you watch these games progress, and as you watch a lot of video games progress, you're gaining accessibility, but you're losing some of the deeper, like, skill caps. Like, there's less satisfaction in actually mastering and becoming good at a game and understanding it, really, getting into what you can do with its mechanics. But as a trade-off, now more people can get into it, and more people... It's becoming a base level of fun for a lot more people, but at the cost of the deeper satisfaction and fun for the few that really enjoy that type of a game, if that makes sense.
So, the things that well, first of all, I think the true measure of the value of how good a game is are the memories that you keep of it long after you've finished playing it.
Right. And I have a ton of those from Morrowind. I have very few from Skyrim, and a decent amount from Oblivion.
Well, I was going to say, the experience I have from Oblivion, the things that I enjoyed the most, top of all, being the Thieves Guild. When you do that final quest and you get that fucking...
with the boots where you fall down the... Yeah, and then no one knows when you have the hood on. And
if anyone sees you in the world, they'll just fucking attack you because they hate the something fox.
Yeah, I can't remember his name either. But you're right.
Fox,
it is Fox. It is Fox. I don't remember the first name, but go on.
It's like the Night Fox or something.
Yeah.
And the second best thing in that game was the Assassin's Guild.
Oh, yeah.
And it really did feel like the flavor text that they gave, the missions that they gave for that, the house party. I will never forget that mission.
That is one of the best quests in that entire game.
Absolutely. There's another guy, you drop like a mounted stag's head on a dude.
So for reference, for people who don't know, because this is such a good thing, and it's worth describing. In Oblivion, when you join the Dark Brotherhood, which is an assassin's guild, you get to play out basically an Agatha Christie novel, where you are
the murderer.
You're the murderer, and you like. There's all kinds of different ways to do it. You can poison people. You can trick people into thinking somebody else is the murderer, and they'll kill each other. Like there's tons of ways to do it, and it's just such a fun quest.
It is. It's a brilliant quest, and so that was why I love the Assassin's Guild, was all the creative different ideas. With the Thieves Guild, the fun part was that, I don't know if you have this memory, but I certainly do. I was very strong by the time I got into Thieves Guild, because it took me a while to work out how to do it. And when I was walking around the Thieves quests, I was crouching, I was like sweating around each corner, shitting myself trying to unlock each door. I'm like the most powerful person in the fucking continent.
Yeah.
But I was like,
but where's the skill in
sense
that?
of tension of not being caught by the guards. And occasionally you'd find like a hidden passageway behind a wall when you touch a candelabra or something. Except normally I'd find them after I'd already looted the building. And I just happened to come back there one day. I was like, oh shit, this would have made life easier.
That's always the way it goes.
But yeah, those are the memories I have. Those are the best memories I have of the Elder Scrolls. Skyrim, I don't really have any great memories.
Yeah, I played that game a decent amount, but I never really... Actually, one of my favorite memories from Oblivion, thinking back on that. So, Blue mentioned that Oblivion was a place. It's basically hell, and you go into it quite a few times during the game to do these quests. And you can close these Oblivion gates by taking an orb at the top of the tower. One of my friends played, I think, 500 hours on one character in that game.
Which, just by the way, the only thing those orbs were good for was selling for 5k. Go on.
He never sold a single one.
Really?
And he showed us a fun trick. That if he dropped 400 of them on the ground, his Xbox 360 would freeze and crash because they all had particle effects and they all made a weird woo sound.
No shit, how did he get 400 of them?
He never beat the main quest and just kept closing gates.
Jesus. You get one.
They never stopped
portal,
spawning.
right?
He played the game for 500 hours on one character.
Jesus. For context, each portal orb, you'd have to spend about 20 to 30 minutes, right, to get one. And that's with, running past guards and stuff, because you don't bother with guards after a certain point.
To be fair, this friend that I have is, high school friend. I actually haven't talked to him in a couple of years now. But he is one of the most, obsessive and talented people that I know.
Right.
He will decide he wants to do something, and he will become amazing at it.
It sounds
and
like
then
the guy
never
from Let's
touch
Game
it
It Out.
Not so much. A little bit less chaotic.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I got a house in Oblivion, there was 3 things I'd do. First of all the potions I had, I'd try and fit into one cabinet. And these things had collision. So it was just a mess. And then the other thing was any skooma or special wines I would collect in a special cabinet. Not because they did anything, but because it was kind of gangster.
I always collected every single copy of the Lusty Argonian Maid that I could find.
Yeah, exactly. It's like these weird little habits you pick up in the game.
But that's when you know, for an RPG specifically, there's plenty of other games out there, and everyone has their own one that is going to be something that they really, really enjoy. But for RPGs, when you have a really good one, when you find yourself doing things that have no tangible benefit in the game, but that just you enjoy. So collecting a random book, completely pointless. You don't need that book at all. You can leave it on the ground.
Yeah. It's just like seeing your own marker of how much progress you've made based on how many lusty Argonian maids are on your bookshelf.
One of my friends, he never actually ended up buying a house in the game.
Yeah.
He stored all of his stuff by dumping it on a beach in the docks at in the capital city.
Yeah.
Every time
does it not despawn?
It doesn't despawn.
Doesn't despawn. Yeah.
So he showed me one time, and the game would lag whenever he'd walk out onto the beach because it was just covered in all this, and it was rare shit like glass shields and armor and enchanted shit all over the place. It's just rolling around on the beach.
Oh, there's the skull of Raoul rolling past. Yeah, speaking of collecting stuff.
Yeah.
So on Final Fantasy, I've kind of given up on the main story because, oh god, it's just fetch quests at the moment.
That is unfortunate.
And I've switched to collecting mounts because they're really fucking hard to get. And as you've seen over the last couple of days, I've been sweating it out in party raids trying to get rare drops.
Yeah, I've seen that.
I got a special mount from the casino, which was worth 1 million MGP, and my god, it took me ages. This is the one you've seen. It's the, I was about to say Ifrit. It's not Ifrit. Fenrir. Awesome wolf. 2 complaints about it. One, his head is super small.
Yeah, I remember. I was in the call when Adam pointed that out.
It's strange. He's like this big ice wolf with 3 tails. He's beautiful apart from the head.
Yeah. For those that don't know Norse mythology.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were going to go on.
No. Well, I mean, you described it pretty much. In Norse mythology, Fenrir is the son of Loki, and he's a giant ice wolf.
Ooh. And the second complaint I had was that, and this is going to sound really whiny and stupid, but you got to see it to believe it kind of thing.
Yeah.
The particle effects that come off this motherfucker when you're flying are just, there's so many. And because he's an ice wolf, they're like white. They're really bright. So flying along in the dark in-game, it's really quite hard to see what you're doing.
So this is something, and I think this is probably something we can probably end this segment on, because it's something that has perpetually annoyed me particularly about new games. And that is when like trying to make graphics look prettier actually makes the game harder.
I don't even think it's meant to be pretty. It's just sparklier.
But hear me, like, well, that's it. You're like, oh, it'd look cool if this wolf was putting out these white particle effects under his feet. Look, he's running on the sky. And you get that. You get that with some games. What was the... I can't think of the example I was just thinking of, but an alternate example is StarCraft 2. A lot of professional players play that game on the lowest settings possible, because it gets rid of all the particle effects, gets rid of all the glow and lighting effects. It's very visually obvious where my units are and everything. For a competitive game, that makes sense. But I've seen that in other games too, where like just because of the graphics, I'm like, I can't see shit.
Yeah, I looked up online how I could, because Final Fantasy, bless its soul, has a deliciously extensive options menu. And I mean, like, you could even change whether the sound comes through and what sounds come through when you're tabbed out of the game. So useful for someone who's going to be tabbing in and out of YouTube videos, that kind of thing. I was looking up how to remove particle effects from a mount, and you can remove particle effects from your character and from other characters, but you can't remove them from mounts. And someone else was having the same issue. They brought it up in a forum. They were like, how can I kind of reduce this? It's kind of blinding. And the responses this poor bastard got were so... Oof. He got attacked by the Final Fantasy community. I'm sorry. I love the game, but some of the hardcore fans who are trying to protect, was it Squeenix, are just a bit too strong with their language. Like, these guys were like, if you're trying to... If those tiny little particle effects are ruining the game experience, then you shouldn't be playing the game. And it's like...
All right, well, there you go. Me? Let's chase a player off. No, this is something ridiculous. All right, you know what? This will be the last thing I want.
Yeah, sorry.
But this is something that has always pissed me off about forums. I can't count the number of times that I have had an issue with a piece of software, with a game, with something else, and I've tried to look it up, and somebody else has put up a forum post that's identical to my own, and their response to that post is just a whole bunch of people judging them. Not judging them in the modern sense of just giving them honest criticism, but judging them in the sense of, why the fuck are you posting this? Just look at the manual. What the hell is wrong with you? This is perfectly fine. This is a great part of the game. It's like, well, clearly it's not a great part of the game because this guy doesn't like it.
Yeah, I don't think it's saying that only, like, I don't think that I'm particularly... I don't have... what is it when, like, sparkly particle effects set people off? Epilepsy. I don't have epilepsy. I just find this thing... I'm a regular person who finds it really freaking annoying. And I would like the option to not be staring at like a million fucking sparkles flying out of Fenrir's colon while I'm flying through the air.
I had this argument with a friend. God, it was 11 years ago now. But I still remember it. And my argument was like, so I was playing BioShock 2, I want to say.
Okay.
And
I was going to say, is that the underwater one? But I guess they're all
they're all underwater. BioShock 2 is... BioShock 2... So BioShock 1 is the ultra-libertarian capitalist one, and BioShock 2 is the communist one. So both of them are a commentary on, horribly extreme societies that just make everything go wrong.
It's the one with Big Daddy on the front, isn't it?
They both are.
Oh, okay.
In the second one, you play as a Big Daddy. Doesn't matter. My complaint has nothing to do with the game. My complaint was I decided to play the PC version because I had a good gaming PC, and the Xbox was in the living room, and a lot of other people used it, so I wanted to be able to play it myself and not have to keep other people occupied with me playing an RPG, right? Because, I was in college, and we had 6 people living in the dorm. I didn't want to hog the Xbox. And I was so pissed because the game didn't have controller support on the PC. And I'm like, it's on the Xbox for the controller support. Just fucking copy-paste it. It's Windows. They're both Microsoft. It can't be that hard. And one of my friends was just like very flippant about it. Just like, oh, but you bought it on the PC. You should play it with a mouse and keyboard. It's just the right way to play it. And I'm like... That kind of attitude pisses me off. Because it's like, I don't get... How hard would this actually have been? Like, I bought this knowing that there's dual support for a lot of things out there. It's out for both systems. Microsoft makes the controller that plugged into the PC. Why didn't they think to do this? And so, my thinking was it was a very, very lazy thing for them not to have implemented. And, but that's the vibe that I get from a lot of forum posts. Like that is somebody asks a legitimate question, they bring up a good point, and somebody who just has a chip on their shoulder is like, nah, f*** you. What you're asking for is stupid.
Yeah. There is definitely a line between people trying to support the developers and people trying to start a fight for the developers.
It's a difference between people who are legitimate lovers of a game and people who are fanatics and purists.
Yeah. And we've seen it very recently with the World of Warcraft thing, where a lot of World of Warcrafters have followed Asmongold over to Final Fantasy, and there were tons of backlash from the Final Fantasy fans and community, where they have said, we do not want you in our game. We are going to follow you around and repeatedly try and get in your way and get you banned. You know what the Final Fantasy devs did? They watched Asmongold's stream, and they banned every one of those fuckers that tried to get in his way.
Good.
And I think that's excellent, because
that's
they want to support their game. They are the real adjudicators of what's wrong and right. I think they did a great job.
I mean, that's the smart way to handle it. The smart way to handle toxicity in a community is to, take that kind of a stance. Final Fantasy showed that they're willing to be an open and welcoming kind of environment. New players want to come over here, come on in. And
there have been a wonderful number of I don't think I've emphasized this enough on the podcast. The community in Final Fantasy has been fantastic in my experience so far.
Yeah, the same. It's been the same for me. Every time I've been playing around, people have genuinely been pretty chill. I'm not used to that in online games.
No. Not everyone is, obviously, but...
To be fair, I came up online games playing RTS and playing FPS. Halo, the very first competitive game I played... the very first game I played competitively online was Age of Empires 2. When I was, 8 or 9 years old. And then after that, it was it was Halo, and it was eventually StarCraft and stuff like that, and League of Legends especially. That game is toxic as fuck. But won't dwell
on that bombshell.
Yeah, I won't dwell on this too much longer. But it's a very refreshing thing to encounter a community in an online game that is just very, very chill. I like that. Anyway, that's going to be the end of segment 1 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and you will hear us again momentarily for segment 2. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 2, our media segment. We did not do movie night this week, but I have been watching a lot of TV shows on my tablet while I have been playing Morrowind, which we just spent the entire last segment rhapsodizing about, as well as other games. So there were 2. I've been watching a little bit of Doctor Who, a little bit more of that, and I thought I'd lead off with that because...
which episodes?
So I finished up the Donna saga.
Oh, okay.
And I started watching the movie.
Started on the decline.
Well, no. I've started watching the movies that are between Donna and the Doctor because I really like the David Tennant movies after Donna finishes too.
Have you seen the Torchwood series?
I haven't. The thing is,
I think you'd really like them.
It's one I've always been curious about because it ended early. Like, it got canceled, but it actually looked like it would have been pretty interesting.
Yeah, there was the Torchwood, obviously for adults only.
Yeah.
And then there was the Sarah Jane Adventures. Did you ever hear of them? So, do you remember Sarah Jane?
I do, but didn't she die? Like, is that what cut that series off? I think the real actress died.
I think she might have done. She was in the episode most recently where it was the school with the bat. Yeah,
but she also shows up in the final the final 2 episodes
with the Daleks,
of Donna. Yeah, with the Daleks.
But she used to be a companion way back in the day when she was young.
Yeah,
it's the same actress.
Yeah,
she had her own spin-off series where she and K9.
Yeah, the little robot dog.
Everyone loves K9. Went and did their own kind of thing in the attic. Which is why, like, in the Dalek one, you see her in this attic with her son.
And then they've got the big computer that pops out and everything.
Yeah.
I was wondering if that was, like, kind of a spin-off thing. Because it seemed like there was a lot of lore there that I had no idea about.
You don't know
I assumed it was from the 70s, but I didn't realize it was another series there.
No, it's quite recent.
Okay.
But yeah, like... Sarah Jane Adventures was alright, but it was a bit childish. Torchwood, holy fuck, when I watched Torchwood the first time, maybe I just watched a scary series, but it went into, like, the world had been basically taken over, right? And the rulers, the new rulers, were like, right, every so-and-so many days, you have to feed us some of your children. Okay. And, like, it was fucking dark. And the Prime Minister was like, fuck you, I'm not giving you my child, when it came to his daughter. And so he ended up, like, shooting his family and himself.
Which, by the way, that is the correct response from a parent. Don't feed your kids to a monster.
At the same time, though, he was happy for everyone else's kids to be fed, so...
That's the fucked up thing, is like, when you're okay with it being someone else's kid, but you're not willing... But then, like, when it comes to you, then you get all, like, up at it. You should have been angry when the first child was, requested by the monster.
Yeah. Anyway, that was a great series. It wasn't like a single episode, it was like an ongoing series. And yeah, so they were really freaking creepy, really quite dark, and they kept me gripped, honestly.
So
that might be worth watching instead of going on. I'm saying,
honestly, I'd like to watch the Torchwood series because it's one that I was always curious about because I've always loved the idea of like spin-off series to sci-fi franchises that I've enjoyed. Like for instance, the Battlestar Galactica series, the one that started in 2005. It's 4 seasons long, and it has an awesome ending. The whole series is awesome. It is awesome from beginning to end.
What's it a spin-off of?
It's not a spin-off.
Oh,
it
sorry.
has a spin-off.
Okay.
And the spin-off is called Caprica. And it's set 20, 30, 40 years before Battlestar Galactica. And it's about how the first Cylons were created and how they kind of became self-aware and relevant, and then they went off and rebelled against their creators and stuff. It didn't air for very long. I think it got 1 or 2 seasons before it got canceled. But the few episodes I saw of it were pretty good. And I liked the lore of that universe, so I wanted to know more about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the classic thing with prequels. When you get to a conclusion that you're happy with, the only real way you can go is going beforehand and then working up. Like Darren Shan's Cirque du Freak.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard those books?
No, I have not.
The Vampire Assistant books. Yes, they did this very long story. Many books. Lots of people loved it, and then they were like, oh, we kind of finished the series. Let's talk about the guy's mentor when he was a kid. And so they had the Larton Crepsley books.
Yeah.
By the way, I read this when I was in school, which was like half my life ago, and I still remember the guy's name. So it was a good series.
It's one of those things that it can be done well and it can be done poor. Another book series, the Song of Ice and Fire series, which are better known now as Game of Thrones, which is the name of the first book. Like, I was reading...
You always mention that whenever you bring it up.
Because it annoys the fuck out of me. Song of Ice and Fire is a cool fucking name. Game of Thrones is a cool name, too. I agree it's probably better for TV, but still. Annoys me. So, like, because I've been waiting for almost a decade for the 6th book, in the meantime, he put out a prequel that was set 300 years before the first book during the war with, like, the Dragon Lords and when they were still in charge and all that fun stuff. And I actually was reading through that. It's pretty good. I haven't finished it. I got the book a couple years ago, and that was right when I started my current job, which is right when I basically started to have almost no free time. And I've been meaning to get back to it and actually finish the book. But the first few chapters I read, I was like, oh, this is really good. And it's fresh content in this universe done by the original author and done well. And that's something that's... Because a lot of the times when you get spin-offs or prequels or things, you end up having it be made by someone who isn't the original author or somebody who doesn't have the proper kind of respect for the original work. The perfect example is... These are, it's kind of old hat now, but the new Star Wars movies, specifically the new trilogy, because some of the new stuff that came out of Star Wars. I'm kind of jumping onto a completely different thing here, but
it's fine, go for it.
Rogue One, that was a Star Wars movie that was sort of like a side story tied into the main storyline, and it was amazing. I fucking loved that movie. But all of the new movies that are part of the main storyline, the first one was kind of a meh retread of the original movie, and then the other two were just dog shit. The second one was dog shit, and the third one was dog shit that was trying to make sense of what the first two did. It was very clear watching those movies that they had no idea what the plan was. So that's an example of doing it wrong. But this book that I'm talking about in the Song of Ice and Fire series, that's an example, I think, of doing it right. And what you just talked about with that other series, again, example of doing it right. So there's ways you can do that well, ways you cannot. I kind of went on a tangent there, but
that's all right.
Something I noticed, and this is brushing on the political, but it's something that I think... Because Doctor Who is a British show, it seemed perfectly reasonable, but as an American watching it, I laughed out loud when I saw this. It was so the Dalek episode, right, where they're invading and there's all these news reports going on.
Are you talking about the one with Sarah Jane and the other dude?
Yeah, and everyone's all together and they're all So there's a news broadcast, and they're talking about people going to negotiate with the aliens and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the lady on the news broadcast says two things that made me bust out laughing. One was, citizens of the world, and the second was the UN Secretary General was the one that negotiated with them. And I fucking lost it. I'm like, what kind... I mean, maybe it's because Britain was part of the EU when this got put out. Yeah. But, like... No. The head of the
United Nations sounds like a powerful big thing, so that kids would be like, oh, the United Nations, that must be the protectors of the world.
Yeah, exactly. In reality, they're a bunch of bureaucrats that can't get shit done. It would have been like... in real life, the head of the UN wouldn't be anywhere near that negotiation.
Yeah.
And second, there are no such things as citizens of the world.
No, she's just talking to the citizens of the world.
No, it would be people of the world or something, because you're not a citizen of the world. I can't just walk into, like, you know, Canada right now and be like, I'm a citizen here too, because it's part of the world.
In a story where there are multiple worlds with multiple races, I
know,
think it's...
And I do realize that they were simplifying it for children.
It is cheesy, though.
But my cynical adult mind saw that and just laughed.
Would it have been better if she'd said citizens of Earth?
Of Earth, or like people of Earth.
Okay.
I think people of Earth would have been less ridiculous.
Okay, yeah, because it's less of a legal thing than a more of a just, you were born on Earth.
Yeah, because when you say citizens of Earth, that is a legal and political term. But when you say people of Earth, that's more of a moral and philosophical and you know, literal term. It's like you are a person on the Earth.
One thing that I will never forget from that particular episode, which is just hilarious to me, is when they switched to Martha Jones about to go into one of these towers in Germany. And there's a Dalek flying by saying exterminate in German.
In German! I was thinking that. It doesn't make any sense. Doesn't everything get translated?
It's like exterminagen.
Exterminagen.
Hilarious.
I know. I remember. I just saw that episode last night, so it's fresh in my memory.
It's funny. I think that could be the wrong word. I'm not sure. It's been many years.
I'm pretty sure. Well, I'm not. I actually don't know the word for exterminate in German, but I think it's exterminaten. I don't think it's
probably be it, yeah.
It's either Inagen or Inaten, and I...
Yeah. But even, like, as a kid, I was, like, super engrossed in the story, and then they flew past saying that, and I just cracked up.
Well, it also kind of flies in the face of the lore. Because in lore, like, because she'd been in the TARDIS, she should have been able to understand exactly what they were saying in her native language.
Maybe she speaks... No, she does speak German. We know she does, because she speaks...
Oh, yeah, that's right. She talks it to the lady up there.
But that's not her native language. I don't know.
Yeah, who knows how the fucking thing works. But
also,
yeah.
the TARDIS wasn't there.
Also a good point. Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot about that episode that's good and that's cringe. I did like the point they were making, because they were really leading up to kind of a dark ending, and they did it very well, like showing how all of these clever people that the Doctor had been with, they're all now willing to sacrifice their lives and cause immense suffering just to kill the Daleks.
Yeah.
And like you can see it, like when the Daleks can confront him about it. It's like, look at the army of soldiers and killers that you've made.
Yeah, when Sarah Jane pulls out the neutron star diamond... How the fuck do I remember all this? And she's like this kindly old lady. She's like, oh, we've got this massive bomb, by the way.
Yeah, and then...
let's hook it up.
And Martha Jones has got the fucking key card that blows up the Earth. Yeah.
Why do I remember this shit, man? That's not even English.
I mean, it's a good episode.
It is. It really is. It's not as good as The Master, but nothing will ever beat The Master.
No, well, I'm almost there. So... There's the episodes after that. They've got the one where he goes off into the desert, and then they've got one where he's on Mars, and this is where they really start to like show his kind of descent. So the waters of Mars. It's an episode where he ends up on Mars, and he ends up on the first colony on Mars, where everyone is supposed to die. Like the place detonates, and no one knows why. And it inspires a bunch of people to go to Mars, and finally at the end of the episode,
Oh, this is the one where, like, the people with the water gushing
Yeah,
out their
the
face
water
constantly.
gushing out their
Yeah,
faces. And this is where he decides he's going to break the rules. He's like, there are fixed points in time and things have to happen. And he's like, fuck it, I'm going to change them anyway in the end. And he has this moment where he's like, you know, I'm literally a god. Like, I've changed time. And like, you see the horror in the humans' faces when they like, the woman sees this. And it haunts him, and that sets him up for the next episode, which is where the Master returns, the next movie, the end of time, where he comes back. And that's where the end of the David Tennant era, where they transition to Matt Smith. But I do have an appreciation rewatching it and knowing how it ends, how they kind of set all of this up and show him slowly kind of descending into this darker state of mind.
You know, one loose end that always bothered me?
Yeah.
It was the episode where the Doctor had his hand put into the cloner thing, and he gets a daughter. And she, at the end of that, she comes back to life with, like, regenerative Time Lord powers.
And she never shows up again.
She flies off looking for him, and we never see her again.
I agree. Like, I liked that episode. I really liked that episode.
Cool character.
And she was a good... exactly, she was a good character, but she never comes back again.
Yeah. Especially because she'd been, like, implanted with half her brain was like, I need to fight and kill people.
Well, one of the things...
And the other half was the Doctor's gone.
So, the other thing is, at the end of the David Tennant era, when he's kind of looking to see where everyone is at the end of it, he does a brief stint visiting, and he like, going and seeing where everyone is, and he finds, like, Martha Jones and Mickey from the first series.
I hate Mickey.
He develops. He's, honestly, I have the same problem with him that I have with the dude from Yesterday. Yesterday, the movie.
Yeah. No, I got it. I was just trying to work out how the...
But they're both fucking, like, meek pussies that don't actually ever just do anything.
I mean, maybe it was because as a young kid I did have a crush on Rose Tyler, but yeah, Mickey was just always a massive bitch.
He
like,
really
even when he was being cool, he was just being cringy.
He got to it later though. In the episode, the last one, when we're getting to like the end of the Donna era, then he has a bit of a redemption there. He's clearly gotten better. And the part that I'm talking about in the movies, he's turned into some kind of like a special ops person with Martha. Yeah. And I kind of would have liked to see...
Yeah, they end up dating.
Yeah, I know. I kind of would have liked to see them show up again and be like...
Ugh, no, they're two of my least favorite characters.
Really? I didn't mind Martha Jones. Mickey, I could do with him never coming back, but...
The Mickey episode, where it was the alternate timeline with the Cybermen, not evil Mickey,
Ricky.
I'm just going to call him the cool Mickey, because that's what he was.
Ricky.
Ricky, that was it. Ricky was fucking cool, right?
He was.
I would have loved to see more Ricky, but he died in that episode.
That dude got shot.
Yeah, so it's like, it's not the actor's fault, it's the role he's been set in, where it's like,
yeah,
he could have been so much
like,
better.
Clearly the actor could play a more competent, like, kind of person with a little bit more gravitas, but the script didn't call for it.
Yeah, I guess they needed a bootlick kind of, I don't know, a joke.
I don't know what it was, like... The other thing I noticed, and this is something that it started in the Donna season, I think, started getting really bad, and it started progressing further. Like, David Tennant in the later seasons that he was in had a style that was very over the top and running around and like, oh yes, and I'm going to do all this.
Energetic, yeah.
Very energetic. And it worked for him, and they kept trying to go with that as if that was the key to his success later on.
With the Matt Smith, they certainly did, yeah. They were going for a fresh, rejuvenated
and I don't think that really suited him. Because David Tennant had the ability to, in some scenes, like he was over the top and jumping around and everything, but then when a scene called for like a stern kind of gravitas, he was able to pull that out. Matt Smith couldn't do it.
Yeah. And don't get me wrong, Matt Smith had some good lines.
He
like
did.
the Churchill one, where they're defending London from Daleks.
Yeah.
And he goes up and he's like, I've got a self-destruct button here that'll wipe all you fuckers out. And they're like, that's not a self-destruct button. You're right, it's a jammy dodger, but I got hungry on the way here. Like, there's so many great lines.
He has some good lines,
funny,
but they're the good lines that come when he's trying to bring his own take on the character and not trying to imitate previous ones.
Yeah, fish fingers and custard. That was going around for fucking months.
Honestly, I think that would actually probably taste pretty good.
Really?
Yeah, I'd eat that.
Okay. I mean, that's kind of like Coke and milk, which I guess isn't actually too bad, but...
Well, I wouldn't have that because I hate soda, but...
Yeah.
Still. But my point is, I feel like they kept trying to recapture the magic of the first two seasons. Like, the first two eras, when they went on after that.
I think their move after Matt Smith to go to Capaldi was the right choice, absolutely. And not just because Capaldi's a great actor. What you're saying about them getting too energetic, they slowed right down with Capaldi. They're like, this is an old...
Yeah, it's like
deeply traumatized man.
instead of having a young, youthful, over-the-top actor, we're going to get an angry old Scotsman.
Yeah, like a complete 180.
Yeah.
And I think the choice of Doctor was perfect.
I think
the choice of Jodie Whittaker was also a brilliant choice.
It would have been... we said this earlier when we went on one of our other rants about this. Like, Jodie Whittaker she's a pretty good actress, whatever, who cares? And if the writing had been there, if the directing had been there, she probably could have done something good. But by the time, even at the end of the Capaldi stage, like, the writing was so stale that even he couldn't salvage it a lot of the time.
Yeah. The Doctor is a very important 10th of Doctor Who, and that's it.
Well, yeah, exactly. People forget this, but if you have a movie that has like a main cast, right, of like 20 people, and there's a main actor, that one main actor, maybe 10 to 20% of why people are there, but all the rest of the surrounding actors, the dialogue, the writing, like, all of that is going to have an effect on it.
It's a beautiful chocolate cake, and a quarter of that cake is just mold-ridden.
Yeah.
And it ruins the rest of the cake for everybody.
It really does. Because even then, if you find a clean part of the cake, how do you know the mold isn't there?
Yeah. Well, like, if you have, like, tiny bits, like, maybe the sound design is off, or...
Yeah.
I don't know, the character, the aliens don't look very realistic. That's like a tiny little bit. People don't really care if they eat a little bit.
Well, like,
but it's so bad that no one will swallow it.
You see this with video games. There's a threshold. With video games, like, there are times where I'm like, okay, I can forgive it crashing. Like, I beat all of Cyberpunk when it first came out. The game would occasionally crash. I'd get graphical fuck-ups. People would merge into buildings. In a very emotional cutscene, a guy had a gun sticking out of his forehead. Like...
Wait, what game?
Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh, okay, right, yeah.
It was glitchy as hell when it first came out, but the story was so good. The gameplay was mostly fun. Like... I was willing to forgive these little tiny things that were wrong with it because, for the most part, it was good, and it was clearly like a labor of love.
Yeah.
By the time
most people couldn't see, by the way. I'm glad that you were able to see past it.
I also played on the PC. The console versions, from what I've heard, were like tremendously worse. Like, if you tried to play this thing on a PS4 or an Xbox One, you basically were playing a slideshow.
Right.
So I was lucky enough to have a PC, and to have a PC that had a decent. Well, at the time, I had a 1080 Ti, which was a 5-year-old graphic card, and it was a powerful graphics card when it came out. But again, it was still able to run the thing. I was getting like 30 to 40 FPS, which isn't a lot, but I was able to play it at like decent graphical settings. But again, it was the writing and the gameplay that carried that game for me. I really enjoyed it. It was clear that the game was well crafted. And I think that's what they lost in the later Doctor Who seasons, was they had the talent, the acting talent, they had the budget, but they didn't have that care to detail. They didn't have that level of craftsmanship to build a good story.
Yeah. There was no platoons of Jejune from the moon.
And they didn't have those silly puns.
Yeah, and you hate puns, and the fact that you can smile and laugh about that is means that they really did that shit right.
Yeah.
But what were the movies that you said you watched?
So after the Donna episode ended, right? There was an episode where the Doctor is on a bus with this girl and gets transported to a desert planet.
That's not a movie. That's part of the.
Well, it's a film. It's a special.
Okay, I'd call that filler.
That one is more filler, but the next one is very important in the story, and that's the Waters of Mars.
Yeah, again, Mars didn't give me a great impression.
But it's a key story bit especially because of the ending. It shows his progression.
Wasn't the person that he saved a bit of a bitch? I just remember not liking her. Like, she was a bit of an asshole to him or something.
Well, she wasn't the... No, I think that's the wrong impression of her. She was someone who was in command. Like, she was responsible for the lives of her people, and he was just somebody who had come in here and done things flippantly, and she didn't like that kind of no-nonsense attitude when people's lives were at stake.
Yeah, but she was, like, annoyed that he had saved her or something like that. I can't remember the exact details.
So the reason that... And this will be the last thing that we talk about in this segment, because we do have a fun thing for segment 3. But she was annoyed because he had spent a long time convincing her that he couldn't save her and the rest of her crew because their deaths and everything were a fixed point in time, and their deaths were what were going to, like, cause the humanity to reach out for the stars. It was an inspiration. Like, we're not going to be set by this. We're going to go out and we're going to do all this other stuff. And then when he saved them and he was cocky about it, like, haha, I saved 3 lives. She's like, but what about all the rest of that? Like, what about humanity? What about all these other things that you said would happen? Like, what happens to us now? And she was disgusted with his flippant attitude that just, like, to make himself feel better, he'd changed history just to save 3 people. And so she kills herself.
Oh fuck yeah, she does, doesn't she? I think there was something.
And that pushes history back onto the right timeline. And that's one of the things that you can see in him, the reaction. He's deeply disturbed by that action. And that starts the setup for the final series of movies, and that's the end of time thing, where the Master comes back and the Time Lords come back and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah,
that's what I'm about.
Doesn't he get, like, the deserts? Not the Water of Mars. The desert one on the bus.
Yeah, the Planet of the Dead,
like,
Deserts of the Dead, or something like that. What was it?
Or doesn't he get an assistant from that, or like?
It's more of one of those, like, temporary assistants. Like, it's this woman who's like she's a gentleman thief, essentially.
Yeah.
And
I think it might have been. I might have thought at the time, because it very much lends itself to that she might have been the next assistant. That might be why I was thinking about it.
It does seem like she's going to be, but that doesn't happen. That is how he gets Clara, though. Later on, in the Matt Smith era, he finds Clara as a separate entity in another episode. And
she's a friend of hers, or something.
Maybe.
No.
But no, that's well after... We're talking like a season or 2 after this. You may be getting a few things mixed up. But
I am. I'm thinking about River Song's original form, who was a friend of Amy.
You're right. Yep.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
they do fuck around with the timeline a bit, quite often.
Yeah.
Which, in a show like this, that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's end it there, because I am eager to get on to the next segment, because this is going to be fun.
We can always talk about Doctor Who, can't we?
Oh, we really could. I don't know why, because this wasn't a series that I was super into until, like, 2011, 2012. And I knew nothing about Doctor Who, the original series, before that. Like, it was just something that I kind of got into, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, let's watch it, and then But there's a lot to say about it, I think. Like, there's
a
lot of
fount of creativity.
Yeah. There's a lot of good and a lot of bad in it. Yep. So plenty to talk about. Anyway, This is going to be the end of segment 2 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening. You will hear us again momentarily for our stupid adventures in segment 3. Welcome back to the TMCJ podcast. We are on segment 3, our wildcard segment. And as you can see, since you are not seeing my face or Blue's face or a gameplay video, you're just seeing my hands, we are now playing a choose-your-own-adventure game book for this third segment. Now, I've got some notes here. If you watched the video on the YouTube channel earlier in the week, I rolled out my character. I did quite well with my skill. I did okay with my stamina, and I rolled like ass for my luck. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting adventure. But with that being said, my character's name is Thunderthuck. I've got the combat rules written here. This area is so I can write up a map if I need to. But let's get into it. Blue.
Okay. The character, Thunderthuck the First, of his name.
Yeah.
The pain is unbearable. Summoning up all of your energy, you open your eyes, first one, then the other. They narrow to slits as they adjust themselves to the strain of trying to see once more, then relax as they make out familiar shapes in the dim light. A dirt floor, rocky walls, then the pain takes over, your head rocks. Your eyes submit and close tightly in an agonized grimace. Instinctively you raise your hands to cup your face, and a low moan mingles with the rasping sound as your rough fingers rub the scaly skin above your eyes. After some time, the pain begins to ease. You open your eyes once more and peer out from between your gnarled fingers. You seem to be at the dead end of a passageway. Your surroundings are barely visible, but a dull glow is coming from the northern extent of the passageway, which stretches before you. A sound is also coming from this direction, of irregular breathing. Something alive is up there. You heave your great bulky body to its feet. Along your back, the spines bristle. Swinging your heavy head slowly from side to side, your progress is decided. Northwards is the only option open to you. Muscles strain and succeed in raising a lumbering foot, which thuds loudly down on the ground in front of you. You repeat the action first with one foot, then the other. After 4 steps, the motion has become automatic. You are moving more quickly and more quietly up the passage. When you reach the end, your eyes are drawn to a huddled shape lying on the ground in front of you. The small figure lies on its side, facing away from you. It is shrouded in a dirty brown cape, tied around its neck, and it lies in a puddle of thick red liquid. Its body rises and falls irregularly with each breath. Some unidentified feeling swells within you. Is it anger, hate, fear, curiosity, hunger, or even sympathy? You bend down towards the little creature, uttering a meaningless grunt as you do so. The sound rouses the figure, which rolls slowly over to face you. The creature's dirty face is light-skinned, though barely visible under the thick hair which shades its closed eyes and almost totally obscures its mouth. From its chin, the hair rolls abundantly down its chest in a grey, unruly mass. Underneath the body, and now exposed by the creature's movement, is a sharp, shiny shaft. And this catches your attention. As you stand there, staring, the creature's eyes flick open. They focus on your bulky shape, and a look of terror streaks across the creature's face. In spite of its pain, it fumbles for and grasps the shiny shaft, holding its pointed end out towards you and baring its teeth. The wounded dwarf you have just found is evidently in need of help. Will you show him you mean no harm, try to talk to him, or bring your foot down heavily on his neck?
Well, he's pointing a weapon at me right now, isn't he?
So, for context, this guy looks like a hobo. He has got very, very bushy beard, he's got very long hair, he's got a prison shank in one hand, and he's wearing like leg wraps and a loincloth.
Alright, so my options are to stomp his neck, to help
I mean, that's
him.
what you listen to, isn't it?
Sorry. Stomp his neck, help him physically, or to just tell him I mean no harm.
So show him you mean no harm.
Okay.
Try to talk to him, or try and snap his neck with your foot.
I'm going to try to talk to him, because, like, I'm not going to get anywhere near this person. And I'm not going to drop my weapon, because, like, the guy's clearly crazy, and he's got a shank.
You greet the dwarf. At least you try to greet the little creature, but instead of any message coming from your throat, it is silent, and your hands reach down to grasp the terrified figure around the chest. He screams and makes a strange sound, which sounds like by Earth Month. You try to answer, but the only sound you're able to make is a grunt of effort as your rough, scaly fingers close tightly around the creature's chest, and your sharp claws dig in. Summoning up all its strength, it swipes at you with its sharp sword. The blade digs in under the scales above your knee, but the wound is not too serious. Deduct 2 stamina points.
Fuck me.
The blow causes you to roar loudly and to increase the pressure on the creature's chest. Its ribs crack like twigs under the force of your grip, and the body falls limp.
I knew I should have stomped this motherfucker.
You drop it to the floor, it lands like the sack of bones it now is. Your thoughts are confused. Will you attempt to hide the body? Will you examine this strange little creature? Or will you leave the area immediately?
Leave it immediately.
Okay. Wow, already lost 2 fucking stamina.
I seriously, in my gut, I was like, I should have stomped this little fucker.
You stand up, ready to leave the area. After glancing left and right to make sure you're alone, you turn towards the westerly passage. At least, you try to turn, but your body will not respond. Instead, it is bending down toward the lifeless dwarf on the ground. Turn to page 399.
Oh my god, am I a fucking vampire or am I possessed?
I think you're a lizard person from the sounds of it.
Oh god. Also, just looking at the camera right now, I'm buying a good tripod for my better camera. Like, it's just looking at it. So I apologize to everyone watching for the blurry quality of this, but it's the best I can do for the time being.
Indeed. Your hands relax and the sharp claws retract into your fingers. You clumsily fumble through the dwarf's dirty vestments. Your fingers will not fit into the pockets, but you do succeed in snapping the thongs of a large leather pouch, which the creature had around its waist. As the ties break, the pouch spills its content on the ground in front of you. It contains several circular pieces of shiny metal and a piece of hide, which unfolds as it drops out of the pouch. It is light in colour and has markings all over one side. You pick it up awkwardly and look at it, but it makes no sense at all. You become quite fascinated by this piece of leather. You turn it round, rub it with your hands, and throw it in the air. You place it on your arm and on your head. You decide to take the leather with you. Unknown to you, the message on the hide may be useful later in your adventure.
Am I possessed by somebody who's obsessed with fetishes?
You're a fucking lizard man, alright?
Oh my god, alright, so I take the leather. Yep.
Turn to 337 to examine the message. If you're carrying this piece of hide, you may return to 337 at any time to re-examine it, but you'll need to remember the reference you have come from in order to return. Okay, so write down piece of leather and 337 next to it.
Got them both. Yep.
Okay, would you
I already
like me
wrote
to
down
turn
the
to
leather.
that
I
now?
didn't write down the 337, but I have them both now.
Okay, would you like me to see what you can tell from it right now, or do you want to continue?
Is that an option in the book?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, I'll examine the leather.
Okay, give me a sec. Gotta keep a finger on that page. I'm not gonna read all of this. It's gibberish. Underneath the writing is more, but written in a different style. Also gibberish.
Okay, fuck it.
I wasn't gonna read all because there's like a page of crap.
Alright, let's move on.
Okay, as you may have realized by now, your own wishes have little effect on your reactions as a creature. You have only glimpses of what you are like and what you are capable of, although this will change as the adventure progresses. At this stage, you're at the mercy of your own whims and instincts.
Oh God,
You're standing at a...
Sorry. Am I the titular character?
Well, I was going to say that this is kind of like tutorial mode if they're guiding your hand, but considering you've already lost 2 health, it's not a very nice tutorial. You're standing at a junction where you may go either east or west. Roll 1 die. If you roll 1, 2, or 3, you go one way, 4, 5, or 6 the other.
2.
You roll a 2. Turn to 308. Ooh, I almost had it. The speed of this episode will go by about as fast as I can switch pages, by the way. You travel west along a twisting passageway.
What was it, 338 or 308?
308. Several times you bump clumsily into the walls and grunt in annoyance, but your tough scales protect you from damage.
God, I am a fucking Argonian.
Oh my god, you are a fish person. The temperature drops noticeably, and each breath sends steamy snorts from your nostrils. After narrow... Oh my god.
After
you're
what?
You're like the dinosaurs in the books.
No.
Sorry.
How did we get to another fucking dinosaur taco making manual?
After narrowing slightly, the passage widens as it leads towards a chamber. A sound from ahead and a flickering light warn you to take care. But rather than making you stop to listen, the prospect of an encounter seems to excite you. You bare your teeth and your claws and stride forward into the chamber. Turn to 205. Roaring like an enraged demon, you rush into the open chamber, ready to take on whatever is inside. Terrified shrieks come from the small party of adventurers huddling around a makeshift campfire in the center of the area. 3 figures are warming themselves by the fire. One wears shiny clothes that clink as he moves. Another is dressed in red and also grows long dark hair from his chin. The third is a tiny creature with polished... Oh, it's a Lalafell. With polished hide on his chest. He has no hair on his chin, but he has plenty on his feet, which he has been holding up to warm at the fire. Your eyes fix on the smallest of the 3. Your breathing gets heavier and a feeling of pure hatred grips you. Without hesitating, you stomp across and grab the miserable hobbit with your claws.
Oh, it is a hobbit, okay.
The other 2 are caught off balance and are slow to react. The hobbit has no weapon and should be an easy victim. Okay, right, you are in combat with Hobbit.
I thought I picked him up.
Yeah, you picked him up, but that doesn't mean you killed him.
Alright. I guess this is still tutorial time. Okay.
The other 2 are slow to react, so you don't have to fight them for... You get 3 rounds where it's just you and the Hobbit.
Alright, well, I'm going to attack the Hobbit. I'm attacking now, right?
Yes. Right, I need to... I didn't prepare my own d6s. Fuck. Okay, I have dice.
I'm prepared.
So, we both roll 2 dice. You add your skill, and whoever of us gets higher wins the toss.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Alright, roll.
5.
I got 11. So what's that plus your modifier?
15.
Okay, the Hobbit gets the first hit. Take 1 damage. Do you want to use your luck?
Sorry, 1 goes to stamina?
1 to stamina, yeah.
And if I use luck, I have to roll 2d6.
2d6 and get less than a 7. Or,
No.
sorry, a 7 or less.
I'm not going to use my luck on a fucking hobbit. I'll take the 1
right.
damage.
Take 1 damage.
Okay.
Okay. Roll again.
11.
Oof. Excellent hit. You slash him. Are you going to bonus the damage or...
Nope. I will tell
Okay.
you when I'm going to use my luck.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the better way of doing it. Okay, you cut the Hobbit. Roll again.
9 plus 10.
Okay, you hit him again. Turn to 86.
Oh, I'm eating the Hobbit.
No, he's not dead yet.
Now I'm just taking notes. Kick Hobbit's ass. Turn to 86.
Wait, when? Hang on.
Did this Hobbit only have 2 HP?
Huh? No, you do 2 damage. First of all, the Hobbit's not dead.
I've just done enough damage to move on to the next page.
No, you've not done it fast enough that something happens before you finish the fight.
Okay.
Turn
Fucking
to 86.
Hobbit.
If it takes longer than 3 rounds, turn to 86. When you have finally killed the little creature, you must turn your attention to the other 2 humans. While you've been battling their companion, they have been preparing to attack. Red robe figure is facing you. Okay, so I think you do still keep fighting him, except now you also have to fight the other 2 after you're finished. Okay, so roll again.
Okay. 7 plus 10.
Okay, you kill the little hobbit. Do you want to describe how you kill him?
Well, I don't even know what I look like. Judging from what I know so far, like I use my little cat claws to dig into him and I bite his head off.
Do you know what a Skaven looks like?
No.
Oh, it's from Warhammer. Never mind. Okay, you bite his head off. Nice, nice hobbit snack. The red-robed figure is facing you, pointing the little finger of each hand at you and mumbling. The shiny human has grabbed a sword. Similar, you remember, to the dwarfs, but larger, and is shouting to the other, Carpenter plunge simge It goes on. You cannot fight both at once. Which will you direct your attention towards? Roll 1 die. If you roll 1 to 4, you decide to take on the shining figure. If you roll 5 or 6, you focus the red-robed man.
5.
Oh, damn, nice. So you're fighting the red-robed man. 292. I like how you're like literally an ad in a dungeon. That's what you are right now. Your reaction is immediate. The red-robed human is deep in thought and looks an easy target. You step forward and swipe viciously at him with your claws. He screams and falls to the ground, clutching at his face. You look down at the undefended wretch and prepare to deliver the death blow, but at that moment, you feel a terrible sting in the back which causes you to bellow and swing around. The remaining adventurer has lunged at you with his sword and succeeded in piercing the scales and flesh on your back. You must lose 2 stamina points for your wound.
Yeah, but I still clawed Mr. Red Cloak
Mr.
Man.
Wizard, yeah. And then you can face the knight in plate armor. Okay, right, you ready to roll?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I keep bumping my lamp every
Hobbit.
time I roll.
Say again?
So I keep bumping my lamp because it's a touch thing, and so it keeps like increasing the brightness on the thing.
Whoops. All right. Oh, that's a 20?
A 10 plus 20. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, you hit him. He takes damage. Roll again.
Ooh. Oh, I said I wouldn't do any vulgar gestures. Sorry about that.
What did you just?
I flipped off the camera.
Okay, roll again.
Oh, that's bad. 5. So
Nope,
15.
you still hits him.
Oh, nice.
Bam. Roll again.
Oh, man, this guy's tough. All right, 7. So 17.
Yep, you hit him again. Hang on. Yep, you hit him again.
Okay, I'm going to admit right now I was wrong earlier. Argonians are actually, like, OP. Apparently. Alright, do I need to roll again? Okay. Oh, shit. Those completely rolled off camera.
Okay, what was it?
It was an 8, so 18.
Okay, yep, you hit him again. Roll again.
9.
Bam. You fucking... How do you kill him?
Yeah! I don't know. I'm assuming he's coming at me with a sword. I'm dodging. I'm
Yep.
dodging, and I'm just going in with the shank and the shank and the punch and the punch. And eventually, I find a gap in his armor with the claws. They go up in the jugular.
Oof. Bam. You've killed this party of miscreants. Well, but yeah.
Well, just perfectly normal people who wandered into a dungeon where I apparently am occupying as a psychopath.
You've become a mini boss. Da 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 da.
Yeah, this is going to be a weird quest if I was supposed to die and then become a human after this.
I don't think so. They were very easy to kill.
Yeah, they did seem to be, yeah.
You deliver the death blow and the knight drops to the ground. Honestly, I'm surprised the hobbit hit you, honestly. He was weaker than the knight and the knight didn't hit you once.
Technically, he did have one scripted hit against me.
The hobbit?
Mm.
No, I rolled a
knight.
5 and a 6.
When I attacked the red-robed man, I took a scripted hit in the back.
Oh, yeah, you took a script hit for that, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you ignore the tank. You deliver the death blow and the knight drops to the ground. With the danger now over, your thoughts turn to food. The smell of the still warm hobbit reaches your nostrils, and your mouth begins to water. You snatch the creature in one hand and eagerly sink your teeth into its sweet flesh, but this will merely provide a snack for you. Inside his armor, the knight is an impossible meal, but the red-robed wizard groaning on the floor may be a new taste for you to savor. He's not even dead!
Oh god, am I gonna eat this guy? Can I kill him first?
You silence his miserable whimpers with a single deadly slash from your claws. For the tasty meal, you may restore your stamina to its initial level. So I'm guessing you don't have any packed lunches, by the way, on this adventure. So, yes, you can heal up to full on tasty hobbit and wizard.
I just got a, sorry. Yeah. So, hold on, do I have a choice, or...
No. This is
No, I'm just,
instinct for an animal.
it's just, I am going to eat these people. Okay.
Yes. After you have eaten, have you adjusted your health?
Wait, how much did I get?
You restore it to your initial. It's a full heal.
Oh, okay, full heal. Oh, fuck yeah. Back to 17.
Yeah. After you have eaten, you rummage through the adventurers' belongings. Their packs have little interest to you. The hobbit carried a miniature sword, and you find a rolled-up piece of thin parchment in the wizard's robe. All three humans carried odd-shaped lumps of doughy substance, perhaps food, although it smells of nothing to you. They also have small hide pouches containing round, flat objects of shiny metal. You cannot think what these may be for, so you toss them aside.
Why do I need gold when I can just eat people?
You must now continue your journey. Passages lead off from the chamber to the north, east, and west. You decide to take the passageway to the west. You leave the chamber, your way ahead lit by flickering fire. Eventually the fire's light becomes too distant to help, and you are groping your way in pitch darkness. Suddenly, a high-pitched twittering sound comes from above you, followed by others. You've disturbed a group of flying creatures which are now squeaking in alarm as they dart about you. You swipe at them blindly and catch one or two of them as they dive at you and scratch you with sharp claws, but your scales protect you from any serious harm, and you are soon further along the passage.
Are these
where these creatures...
bat monkeys?
I don't think there was anything about monkeys, was there?
I don't know. Go on. I'm just being sarcastic.
Where these creatures evidently do not venture, the passage turns north. You follow it around the bend to the right and stop in front of a wooden door. There is no other way forward. Will you heave at the door with your shoulder? Or is there something else you wish to do? Roll a die. If you roll 1 or 2, turn to one page. If you roll 3 to 6, turn to another page.
Okay. 4.
It's a 4. Ba-da-ba-da. Oop. 101. The door cracks under the force of your blow. A hole appears, and you rip the timbers away until it's large enough for you to pass through. Torches are mounted on the wall of the room inside, and there are 2 doors, one to the east, one to the west. There is no furniture to speak of, but some remains, perhaps of a table and chair, littered the floor among a thin covering of dirty straw. The wood has been broken in, and what appears to have been a furious battle, the result of which lies before you. In the center of the room is a familiar sight. What the fuck are you doing?
I'm playing with a pen.
It's just off the corner of my vision. Like,
Sorry, I
mind
need something to do while I'm listening.
Casting your mind back to the battle you have just won, you recognize the figure of an armored knight lying face down in the straw. His face is hidden under an elegant helmet decorated with wings coming from above each ear. A dark-bladed sword has entered his body through a gap in his armor, between his arm and shoulder. Lying next to the knight are 3 other figures. One is similar in stature, but wears a tough leather tunic and helmet. A bloody stain around his belly indicates how this adventurer came to grief. The other 2 figures are not so familiar. They are shorter than the others, and are dressed in armor of scaly brown hide. They have gnarled, pug-nosed faces, with vicious teeth set in their lower jaws. All 4 bodies are long dead.
Weird.
You step forward to get a better look. Suddenly you hear a chomping sound coming from somewhere in the room. In fact, several places. You cannot see anything which might make a noise. Your eyes pass over the adventurer in leather armor, and you suddenly freeze. While you are watching, a chunk of flesh disappears from his thigh. You watch incredulously for a few moments more. Not only does more flesh disappear from the adventurer's leg, but you also notice the body of one of the pug-nosed creatures twitch, as its forearm suddenly loses a fleshy lump. This scene is worrying, and you must decide what to do next. Roll a die.
Oh, okay. 6.
A 6. You head quickly for the door to the east. Oh dear.
I wanted to fight the invisible air piranhas.
Do you want to see what the invisible air piranhas look like?
Sure, why not?
Wait, no, I can't.
Yeah, I can't.
They looked like... Huh?
Yeah, I was going to say, actually, it's not going to show up on the camera, so...
No. Well, they looked like little implings with sharp fangs, kind of with half, like, people's bodies hanging out of their mouths.
Gotcha.
168. God. Finding pages is tough. Alright.
By the way,
incidentally,
this is probably going to be the last room that we're going to be able to do for the podcast, and then we can continue this afterwards with the outro, but yeah.
Absolutely. You make your way cautiously towards the door, horrified by the sight of the bodies slowly disappearing. As you step across one of the pug-nosed creatures, your foot catches something in the air. A screeching noise from somewhere is followed by a yelp of pain from you as sharp teeth clamp on your foot. Lose 2 stamina points.
What?
The shock causes you to tumble over, and this frees your foot. But as you lift yourself up, something is happening in the room. 3 shapes are materializing in front of you. Turn to 447. You may have to fight them after all.
Oh, man.
447. Oh, so this is what they look like, guys.
Okay. For those that can't see, because you can't see, think like a balding hippie crouched down with no clothes on and their mouth open.
Honestly, vampire monkeys are pretty
Well,
astute.
I mean, I said the same thing, just with different words.
Yeah. Your eyes widen as the 3 scrawny creatures form before you. They are thin and angular and move in quick, jerky motions. Although their bodies are covered in scraggy dark fur, their bony faces are bold, with tiny eyes in the center of each face In the center of each face is an oversized, protruding mouth, rimmed with sharp teeth. These vicious little flesh feeders live on carrion. While feeding, they make themselves invisible to avoid being caught unawares. But in between meals, they are both visible and quick-tempered. They now face you, furious that their meals have been interrupted, and you must battle with the creatures. They attack all at once.
Okay, let's battle.
There are 3 enemies.
Don't look at the camera, because...
Oh my goodness.
Alright, what am I doing with them?
Okay, there are 3 enemies. They are... Oh. I will have to very quickly check how multiple enemies at once works. Fighting more than one. If you're holding a fight with more than one opponent, you must choose at the start of each attack round which of the opponents you'll be directing your attack towards. Yeah. Then you must compare. All the opponents, anyone with a higher attack. Okay, cool. So basically, you roll once. I'll roll 3 times, and if any of the scores are higher, that number will attack you. If your roll is higher than all of them, then you dodge them all. Okay?
Okay, do they take damage from any of this?
You have to direct your attack to a particular enemy. So, because these are all the same, I'm just going to go through 1, 2, and then 3.
Okay.
Is that I mean, they do have actually differing amounts of health.
What I'm asking is, like, is this roll that I'm about to do an attack and defense?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go in in order.
Yeah, that's fine, because they're all the same creature, essentially.
Yeah,
okay,
exactly.
Roll.
6 plus 10.
6 plus 10, so 16. Alright, so the first one hits you, and you do not hit him. The second one does not hit you. The third one does not hit you. Okay, so you take 1 damage.
Okay.
And roll again.
19.
First one you dodge and you hit them. Second one you dodge. Third one you dodge. Alright, 2 damage to the first person. Okay, let's roll again.
16.
You hit. You dodge, you dodge, you dodge. Alright, roll again.
Alright, the first one's still alive?
First one is just about still alive.
Alright, 8.
So you got 18?
Yep.
You hit and kill the first one. You dodge and you dodge. Okay, 2 enemies left.
Alright, same in order. I'm hitting the second one now.
Okay.
15.
Dodge / hit. And how much did you get? 15.
Yeah.
You dodge the second one as well.
Oh. Okay.
You hit the dude. Okay, roll.
16.
You hit. You dodge. Roll again.
Okay. 10. 20. 20, I mean.
Okay, bam. And roll again.
Okay. 20 again.
Oh god, these rolls. Okay, you killed the second one. There is 1 left.
Alright. 14.
Okay, he hits you. Take 1 damage.
Alright, there we go. Luck is starting to run out, but there's only 1 left. Here we go.
I mean, your luck hasn't changed, mate.
19.
Hit.
Okay. And 17.
Take a hit.
Okay.
Roll again.
18.
You hit him. Roll again.
18 again.
Bam, you've slain the last enemy. Turn to 89.
I don't know why I crossed out my HP again. Just like I assumed that I didn't get that hit. Oh man.
You rest for a few moments to catch your breath, and then you survey the room. Your curiosity overcomes you, and you begin to investigate the 7 bodies in the room. The pug-faced orcs are dirty and smelly. You try a mouthful of flesh, but spit it out in disgust. Around their waists, they carry small bags, which, when ripped open, send a shower of small bones flying across the room. The 2 adventurers are not much more interesting. Similar pouches contain those round pieces of shiny metal which you came across before. They scatter on the floor, and you ignore them. The pack on the back of the adventurer in the winged helmet is decorated and attracts your attention. One of the straps breaks as you rip it off his back and grope clumsily inside. You
Hold up.
feel something...
Just wanted to point out, I don't know how much is left on the page.
I'm just going to read this part.
Yeah, finish. Okay.
Yeah. And you... Oh, fuck, where was I?
Grope,
I'm
you
just
broke
trying
the
to find-
pack as you're going to the adventure.
You feel something solid. As you fumble angrily with the rucksack, a hard wooden casket drops to the ground and falls open. Inside is a clear, smooth flask which contains swirling purple gas. Your curiosity is captured and your huge clawed hand tries to grasp the delicate flask, but this turns out to be hopeless. Eventually you pick up the casket and drop it on the ground. As luck would have it, the flask jumps in its cradle and lands in such a way that the stopper flips out of the flask. The purple gas within swirls tempestuously, and its vapours seep slowly from the neck of the flask. And that's where we will leave it.
Oh my god, am I becoming a human? Ish. Anyway. Okay. Hopefully this is something very different than what we normally do for this segment of the podcast. But we have done like readings of stuff like the Eye of Argon before, so it seemed like it might be something that could fit.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts before I close this out here?
If you want to continue listening to this, we'll be doing this on a separate video off podcast. Yeah, if you're captured by it, if it sounds interesting, go for it.
Yeah, it will be on the Men Called Justice YouTube channel. So if you want to check us out there, we will be continuing on with this game where you'll get to see more of me fiddling around with my hands and whacking the mic with my pen.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to call it there. This is going to be the end of segment 3 and episode 55 of the TMCJ podcast. Thank you all for listening, and hopefully you will tune in again next week.
Don't be a lizard.